Once, in a time before time, God breathed life into the universe, and the light gave birth to angels, and the earth gave birth to man, and the fire gave birth to the Djinn, creatures condemned to dwell in the void between the worlds. One who wakes a Djinn shall be given 3 wishes. Upon the granting of the third, the unholy legions of the Jinn shall be freed upon the earth. Fear one thing and all that is. Fear the Jinn. Wishmaster 3 Beyond the Gates of Hell, aka Wishmaster 3 Devilstone, is the second sequel to the Wishmaster film franchise. The film went straight to video, just like its predecessor Wishmaster 2 Evil Never Dies. The film was released throughout 2001. I'm the Michael Myers fanatic, and unfortunately, it looks like the Wishmaster is back and he's up to his old tricks. For the third time, the evil Wishmaster returns, with more evil and grotesquery. This time, a beautiful, innocent, studious teenage girl named Diana Collins accidentally opens up the Djinn's tomb. This time around, the Wishmaster assumes a new identity. He is no longer Nathaniel Demarest. Now he is Professor Barash, played by Jason Connery, who is the son of Sean Connery, who's known for the James Bond films. Now it's nitpicking time. That's right, here we go. What the fuck was it with all this stuff from Egypt, like Egyptian statues and sphinxes and things like that? What did Egypt have to do with the movie? I don't get that. It's not about Egypt, it was in Persia. And what is it with the cheesy title? Beyond the Gates of Hell? No. The movie opens up with Diana Collins, and she's played by A.J. Cook. Her parents died in a car accident. See, this goes back to what I said in the first Wishmaster movie. Each movie concerns a family tragedy, and the Wishmaster uses it for his own personal gain. Now, this time the Wishmaster is not at a fancy party for the elite. He's not in prison. This time he's at a college in Illinois, Baxter University. She can't deal with the fact that her parents are dead, and most of us would have a problem with this. And you hear her talking to her boyfriend, Greg, and he's played by Tobias Meller. I don't like Greg. Greg got on my nerves, but he was an asshole. I don't understand what she would want with a boyfriend like that. He denies everything she tells him. He keeps telling her, you need to see a doctor. That's his answer for everything. Can't you understand that her parents are dead and she's having trouble getting over it? You see a doctor. Professor Barash invites Diana to go to this museum so they can study up on some Persian culture. And this movie portrays Professor Barash as a bit of a pervert because he has a crush on his students. So she agrees to go with him, and they discover this strange looking box. Diana pokes it with a pin and it opens up. You can obviously tell that they stole that from Hellraiser, but inside they find the Stone of the Secret of Fire that can be seen in the first 2 films. And when they find it, Diana rubs it and the Wishmaster appears in his true form. But he doesn't come outside of the stone, she just gets a vision of him. And for some reason, he decides not to show himself, and she left the professor by himself. He invited her to stay for dinner, but she was like, no, I have a boyfriend, and he got offended. Once she goes home, the Wishmaster appears, and he basically tells the professor that if he doesn't make a wish, he will expose the professor for being a pervert, will expose the fact that he hit on his student. The professor doesn't want to get caught, so he agrees to do it, and he wishes for the two most beautiful women in the world to be in love with him, and to be right there at that very moment. The Wishmaster then says, "Done," and the women appear. Now he makes out with them, kissing them and all that stuff, but later on we see that they're demons, and they start scratching him. One of the demons bites the professor's tongue and then spits it out. Once the professor's dead, the Wishmaster goes over to him, takes his face off and puts it on himself, and he assumes the professor's identity. So he starts looking for Diana. Diana goes back to her house, looks up all this stuff about the Djinn on the computer. She's trying to tell her boyfriend Greg, but he doesn't believe her. That's another thing. How the fuck did she learn about the Djinn so quickly? The movie just came on, and already she's like an expert on the Djinn. The Djinn makes his way to the admin building where he meets up with this lady, some kind of teacher. He basically says, "I need Diana Collins' file," and she tells him, "We can't do that. We're not allowed to release any information without anybody's consent." So he basically tells her to make a wish. So he says, "Thank you." And then she said, "Your gratitude is the last thing I need right now, Professor." And then the Wishmaster was like, "Well, what is it that you do need? What would you wish for?" She says, "You're gonna make all my dreams come true." And then he's like, "Just one wish at a time." And then she says, "Okay, you want a wish?" And he says, "Yeah." She says, "I wish this whole mountain of files would go up in flames so I could get the hell out of here." Now he doesn't use his trademark line, where he says, "As you wish," or he might say, "Done." This time he just looks at her, and her body just goes up in flames, and he burns her to death. Diana discovers her body. The next day, the Wishmaster goes to the school, posing as the professor, and he gives a lecture on the Djinn, and he's trying to get people to make wishes, like this one guy named Billy. He says to Billy, because Billy is taunting him, that's one of the students. Billy is played by Aaron Smolinski, and he says, "Do you wish to talk in my class?" He was trying to get him to make a wish so he could take his soul. The one thing I didn't like about this movie is that it seemed like they made the Wishmaster more of a killer than anything. It seems like he was more focused on killing people in this movie, where in the other two, he was more concerned with taking their souls. And Diana avoids him at all costs. She didn't even go to school, because even though the movie just fucking came on, somehow she knows that that's really the Wishmaster and that it's not her teacher. And when she does go, at the last second, she hides in the bushes because she doesn't want the Wishmaster to see her. She tells Greg, "You gotta help me, the Wishmaster's after me." And again he says she's crazy, but they get their friend Katie York to come along with them, and she's played by Louisette Geis. I guess that's how you pronounce it. And they read all this stuff about the Wishmaster at the library. So they make their way back to the college. Greg runs into the Wishmaster, but he thinks it's Professor Barash. He basically says, "Leave Diana alone. She's dealing with a lot of heavy stuff. She's got a lot of heavy issues." And the Wishmaster tells him, "Tell her 3 wishes. Otherwise, the souls closest to her will perish horribly." And he reveals his true identity to Greg. And then Greg runs like a little bitch, even though Diana was trying to tell him that the Wishmaster was after her. He tells Katie what he saw. She halfway believes him. The Wishmaster goes after some lady named Eleanor, and she is played by Emmanuelle Vagier. I guess that's how you pronounce that. And she's basically coming on to him. Teacher, she doesn't know he's the Wishmaster. And she says to him, I'm so tired of playing with these horn dogs, but you look like you know how to break a girl's heart. And he says to her, do you wish me to break your heart, young lady? And she's like, oh yes, please. And then he's like, as you wish. And then her heart starts pounding really quickly, and it explodes and blood comes out of her mouth. So he goes back after Diana. He doesn't get to her, but he finds Billy instead. He tells Billy, he says, where's Diana? And Billy won't tell him. Because Billy, is like, I know who you are. You're just some lame professor that's got a thing for his students. So the Wishmaster tries to get Billy to tell him, but Billy refuses to tell him. Then the Wishmaster says, well, make a wish. And Billy says, blow me. So then the Wishmaster picks him up and blows him. And he flies across the room and he lands on a sharp object. And it impales him. And he's just hanging on the wall. Then there is a wish where some chick named Anne, but she's played by Daniela Evangelista. Anne wishes to lose weight, but the Wishmaster doesn't grant her wish right away. He's basically using Anne as bait. He tells Diana, because they run to the church, and the Wishmaster says, I knew you would be here, you're so predictable. And he's dancing with Anne, and she's happy because he tells her that she can be his new assistant. This is all a lie, of course. Diana still refuses to make a wish. He grants Anne's wish. Now, she said that she wished to lose weight. And the Wishmaster grants the wish, and he makes her spit up all this body fat. And the body fat is just dripping out of her mouth, and blood is coming out with it. Then Diana makes a wish, telling the Wishmaster, I wish you to stop the pain. He stops the pain, but he kills her. Then she says, I wish to invoke the spirit of the angel Michael to help me stop you. Michael comes down from heaven and he fights the Wishmaster. And they're going at it like a literal fight. And that's the thing that kind of got me going. The Wishmaster doesn't fight anyone. Some of the things stayed the same though. Like when he was killing someone, he had this psychic bond with his waker, like in the other two movies. But Michael fights the Djinn, and they run some more. And he tells Diana, you're not ready to hold the sword, and he heals her because she burns her hand. Katie is the last person that's left alive. Now Katie is hiding from the Wishmaster, but she calls Diana on the phone saying, I need help. She says, I need somewhere to hide. The Wishmaster hears her, and he puts her in a cage filled with rats. They run to the rooftop, and Michael is fighting with the Djinn, and the Djinn is yelling, make your wish. Diana jumps off of a roof to try to kill herself, save the world, because if she dies, she can't make any more wishes. Because remember, if he grants 3 wishes, he can open the gates of hell. So then the Wishmaster catches her before she falls to the ground. So Michael gives her the sword of justice. She stabs the Wishmaster, but after the Wishmaster goes back to hell for a 3rd time, then Michael, the Archangel, goes back to heaven. Greg and Diana kiss and make up, and the movie's over. But not quite, because he's just gonna get out again in Wishmaster 4. I'm the Michael Myers fanatic. I approve this message. Wishmaster 3, Beyond the Gates of Hell.